Welcome all. My name is Sully, and once again, we're going to start a whole new sub-series, just something that cover all kinds of comic book spin-offs of popular movies and TV shows. And I figured, hey, how about I cover one that was based off a hybrid of genres, one that included sci-fi, fantasy, horror, action. And so I decided, how about I tackle the Lionsgate horror fantasy comic books? There was one on Leprechaun and there was one on Warlock. Now, once again, Leprechaun is known for being goofy, schlocky, kind of self-aware bad. So it made sense to me that they were doing a comic book, but the Warlock one was interesting too because it made me wish they had done some of the other stuff that was a big part of Lionsgate or Sony or even Universal horror, whether it was the classic monsters from Universal or even something like Candyman or Wishmaster. But, this is probably as good as we're going to get. So these comic books came out around 2016, 2017, and Tidal Wave Productions was the main guys who were doing all the sketches. And suffice it to say, so there's some hits and then there's some misses here. So let's start with the good. The Warlock comic book is very, very fascinating because basically, even though they didn't have the right to use the title villain portrayers, Julian Sands persona, it was still interesting to see them kind of just come up with a whole new storyline and then tackle some of the various kind of over the top 80s, cheap frills and gory mayhem. And I have to say, this comic book does a good at making use of the characters. They come up with cool new characters and you grow attached to, and at the same time, it's just fun mischief. Just, and it's a good use of the comic book format that they're using. It doesn't feel like a wasted opportunity or like half-assed ideas. This has been the problem with movies and even TV shows and video games becoming comics, because sometimes they're just so involved with just getting it approved and getting the sketches of the actors, drawn, that they don't actually come up with any interesting story or dialogue. But not the case here. They did good at just having it be straightforward. It's like, okay, we don't know why the Warlock's back, but here he is. And in this case, mainly follows the plot of the movie, like the very first movie. Like, part two you can enjoy for the gory mayhem, and part three really didn't have anything to do with this. So just go back to part one, and that was a good idea. That was the one that began it all. And so the whole format is what would happen had, the male witch, hence the name Warlock, gone after and actually obtained the book. And it has a spell that unleashes a coven of 6 other witches that have been locked away for 100 years. And before you can say Hellraiser free and, He-Man or any of these other just, unleashing terror on Earth, here you go. And, the first movie was really enjoyable, especially much like how it came out post, Terminator, and just about everything is happening, strong female heroine, sarcastic male hero who knows too much, and then all these various cops who, get slaughtered and stopping the creatures. And this does good. It's a singular story, but it's just so much fun getting there. And you have a strong female police officer. You have 2 warlock hunters, one who wants to avenge the death of his wife by the warlock, and then this one guy who knew one of the priests. And I like how they involve holy terror without it being derivative of something like The Omen or Exorcist or even Hellraiser. They do a good job just having it be straightforward. Here's what would happen. And just unleashing all the mayhem that follows. But altogether, good use of this, again, cult movie franchise. And I wish there could have been more. Now, vice versa, I can't say the same about this Leprechaun thing. The animation was competent. I didn't find anything wrong necessarily with the story or dialogue, but there wasn't anything interesting here. So this one was kind of a miss. But at the same time, I mean, it's kind of appropriate given how it's an infamous movie saga. And unfortunately, it kind of committed the sin of some of those lesser movies where in that saga where it just unfortunately got too goddamn boring here. But altogether, if you want to collect these, you can get the Warlock trade paperback from Amazon. It'll cost you about $20, and it's worth it. It should appeal to a lot of these diehard fans. The Leprechaun one I read online at a free comic book site, and I do not know where you can find. But if you do, make sure it's like less than $5. You know. But altogether, here's been a movies to comics presentation, and I hope I was straightforward with you guys. It's just cool to see just these sagas that are known for their over the top, title villains unleashing mayhem, and they put them to work, and it makes you wonder, since Lionsgate unleashed their whole Vestron presents Blu-ray sets where they would have all those cult movies from the video store days remastered. It made you wonder why they couldn't have just packaged some of these comics with their new remastered Blu-ray sets. But well, I'm not in charge of the marketing department, but they're totally worth it for genre fans. At least the Warlock one is. So it's been a presentation, and thank you for listening.
We'll return after these messages.
The Jacked Up Review Show podcast is honored to be part of the Blind Knowledge Podcast Network. Join anytime, talk the talk, and enjoy yourselves. There's something enlightening for everyone with this crowd of cool cats. Check them out.
Hey, it's Brent Pope, the host of Breakfast with Brent Pope. You've seen me on some of your favorite TV shows saying things like, "Give it up, Jimmy. You got to sink this putt to win." On Breakfast with Brent Pope, I sit down with guests from the entertainment world, and we do it all over breakfast. Or should I say Brentfast? Every week on Brentfast, you get inside Hollywood info and tips, great breakfast recs and booty debates. Most of all, you get the most delightful 30 minutes of your week. So dig in. It's Brentfast time. Listen at Brentfast.com, Apple Podcasts, or wherever fine podcasts are found.
Do you ever find yourself thinking about who would win in a fight between Goku and Superman? Hi, I'm James Gavsey, and on the Who Would Win show, me and my co-host Ray ignore anything important happening in the outside world and debate fictional battles between characters from comics, movies, and video games.
We got a new show every week, and almost always am I the winner.
Yeah, not true, Ray.
In the past, we've discussed such matches as Captain America versus Darth Vader, Solid Snake versus the Iron Giant, classic matchups like RoboCop versus Terminator, and even the Muppets versus Sesame Street.
That one was crazy. So if you're a fan of geek culture and love a spirited debate, check out the Who Would Win show wherever you get your podcasts, or check us out at whowouldwinshow.com.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a Jacked Up